Joyflu group. We are live. Thank you for joining. So today we're up to, from the 5 bodies expanded, the energy body. And understanding these 5 bodies just opens us up to potential life mastery, a deeper sense of self and connection of self. Understanding our energy body specifically, understanding our energy body helps us with ourselves, but also others. It gives us a far greater compass to navigate life and our decisions. So, to be honest, I'm nervous about speaking to this one. Not as nervous as the one I'm going to do next week, but this is just that little bit easier. So my rule generally with anything that I speak to in any teaching capacity is that I teach what I know and I teach what I've applied myself, so that I can hand on heart say that it works and I understand it. So with this energy body, I am speaking from my own knowledge, my own knowing, and my own understanding and my own experiences of the energy body. However, I have not done any formal studies, qualifications in this particular area. I've played with lots of energy body modalities and medicines, which I will speak to, and what that has enabled me and opened up for myself. I have largely benefited from the awareness and working with this particular body, so that's why I am happy to speak to it and why it has to be included as part of the 5 bodies. As much as I wanted to, I couldn't discount it. It's just played too much of a big part. Where my nerves lie in speaking to this one is that it's largely very woo-woo. This is the things that we don't necessarily, we can't see the energy body. Well, some can, but we'll get to that. But it's the energy body is probably, out of all of the bodies, the one that is the most discounted, the one is not included to, spoken to in our Western culture. Okay, other cultures do actually have learnings, fundamentals, understandings about the energy body. I haven't yet applied myself and learnt the non-westernized perspective on the energy body, but it has flowed through in my own coaching and healing journey and practices, that, as I said, it cannot be discounted. So what the hell am I talking about when it comes to the energy body? Some of you will already have a sense or an understanding or awareness or a connection to your energy body. Okay, what really helped and supported me in being open to recognizing the energy body was very much learning about quantum physics, that we are effectively just all these vibrating cells, that we are just massive bodies of dense energy. So that was fundamental for me to be able to start to explore and be open to considering the energy body. Prior to that, it was just like, sure, I love magic, but it's not real. Once understanding quantum, or at least learning a bit about quantum, that sort of opened up my abilities to actually accept that it is a thing. Okay, so I feel that my resistance to speaking to, or my nerves about speaking to this energy body, largely come from knowing how I would have 10 years ago felt about hearing the concepts that I'll speak to now and that would be, Andrew is a freaking nutcase. What the hell is she banging on about? What a weirdo. Yeah. These days I'm a little more comfortable with my weirdness and the way that I see the world not being the way that the majority necessarily view the world. So yeah, there's a bit of vulnerability for myself in tapping into and talking to you about the energy body. So, what the hell's the energy body? So, I'm going to take two tangents. So, the first one is very easily digestible, and that's our conscious understanding of our energy body. How much zip and go have I got? How much energy fuel do I have in my body to do the daily tasks, to, get up, face the day, and largely for us that's based on quality of sleep, what nutrients I'm putting in my body, what physical exercise am I doing to help support my system. And it's funny because when I refer to that, our conscious understanding of the energy body is very much linked and in tune with the physical body. Okay, then there's the how good do I feel. So now I'm tapping into how my emotional body. Am I feeling good? Am I feeling fulfilled and purposeful? Have I got drive to get up and do the things that I want to do? Is there motivation there? Or am I feeling tired, disempowered, numb, dull and depressed and devoid of energy levels to be able to face the day to day? Okay, so that's as a rule, the Western cultural understanding of the physical body. Now we move into the unconscious energy, and so we don't know what we don't know until we know it. Okay, so if this is the first time you're hearing someone speak to the energy body, there's probably going to be a lot sitting unconsciously for you around this topic. So the best way I can think to explain this is that we have an uncanny ability to recognize the energy in other people, also places and things. Okay, everything that we can see and touch has an energetic imprint, a frequency at which it resonates. Okay, we talk about being high vibe or low vibe. Okay, most of us can think of a time when we went to a particular location, maybe it was a house or a room in a particular house, where we just felt dense energy, or maybe it brought on a feeling of dread for ourselves. So in that instance, we're recognizing that the energy has shifted from moving from one location to the other. Okay, we often recognize the energetic imprints of those around us more so than what we recognize in ourselves. So there'll be people that we spend time with and we feel exhausted after having spent time with them, often referred to as energy vampires. Or I've talked about leaky energy, so hidden agendas that exist in our interactions with people, and sometimes we're able to identify what that leaky energy is about, and sometimes it's just a feeling of like, I don't feel clean, or I don't necessarily enjoy my interactions with this person because of the leaky energy. The other one that is we're often a little more conscious of is sexual energy. The tension that can exist in our interactions with someone, and maybe they've got heavily leaky sexual energy, like they're just reaching out and energetically trying to have sex with everyone that they're interacting with. That real leaky sexual energy exists. So when we tap into how people, places, and things make us feel, then we're starting to feel into what is the energetic imprint. Okay, and what's really interesting is when we notice when we interact with certain people, places, or things, what impact that has on our energy levels. Okay, does it help me feel vibrant and full, or am I leaving that interaction with that people, place, or thing feeling drained and depleted? Okay, so even if you haven't got a awareness around your own energy, unconscious energy imprints, just through starting to take notice of the energy of others, that is building our knowledge around the energy body, and that way we can start to reflect it back into self and go, well, okay, how do I feel my energy body is? Like, am I an energy vampire? Do I have people leave being in my energetic field more vibrant and upbeat, or might they be leaving drained and depleted? Okay, and again, this is a situational question. Some days they might leave vibrant and full, and other times they might leave drained and depleted, depending on what's going on in my world and what's going on with my energy body. Okay, so a nice little question you can start to frame for yourself is, what might my unconscious energy body be doing? Have I got any hidden, unspoken, unconscious agendas going on when I interact with others? Probably one of the most common ones that I have personally come across is when someone is doing their best to impress, and they're really going out to say and do the things that they feel will build up their significance to themselves first and foremost, but also in your eyes. Okay, if you're around someone who has very little self-significance and they are using that interaction as a vehicle to build up their significance, what often happens is we leave depleted and drained, because often that interaction has very much been a one-sided interaction. It's just that person talking about me, how amazing I am, all the amazing things that I've done and accomplished. And it often has the opposite effect of what they're actually hoping to achieve, because quite often we back away from what doesn't feel good energetically. Okay, I find it quite coincidental that I'm speaking to the energy body on what is actually a full moon today. So again, I was looking for ways to, like, how can I shine a light and bring evidence to this ideology that of something that I can't prove necessarily that exists. So we have a full moon. The moon impacts the tidal waters of the oceans. Humans, we are made up of a lot of water. Water is a conductor for energy. Okay, so it's largely documented that during times of a full moon, that as humans we tend to go a little bit crazier. Crime rates go up. There's generally more disturbances. Try and say the word properly. That happen in communities of humans during the period of a full moon. Okay. Intuition, again, not something that's genuinely quantifiable. However, most of us will have had some level of experience with our own intuition kicking in, whether that's a feeling of dread, and we can't explain it, or really anything that is where we are collecting information and decisions are being made, outside of the information available through our 5 primary senses, so sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Okay, often we just have a feeling, a sense of, okay, and quite often this is coming from our energy field that is able to collect information past this physical body. Okay, I know years and years and years ago, when I started becoming open to this idea of the energy body, is just simply grabbing our hands and rubbing it. Do this when you're sitting quietly, and then just pull them apart. Okay, and so what I'm feeling is I'm feeling a buzzing sensation in between the hands. Now that through that rubbing, I'm building up friction. Okay, energy in between the two. One of my favorite is, when you get goosebumps, all of a sudden all the skin sort of reacts to either something being said or some music, or, just might be something outside of my 5 senses that is causing those goosebumps to erupt. What is it we often say? Oh, someone's just walked over my grave. Pins and needles. Okay, I've worked with a beautiful practitioner last year, somatic experiencing, and she would be, working with my body and manipulating, and we were tuning into what was going on for me. And she, a couple of times, had done something, and I could feel the energy moving around my body, and she, it was really nice. She explained it as that, we were opening up more blood flow moving through the body, and so pins and needles is often caused when we've had a period of restricted blood flow through the body, and then we move or change positions, and the blood flow releases through, and it gives us that pins and needles sensation. As much as I loved her explanation of the energy that I was feeling moving through my body, through my own experiences outside of my sessions with her, I do subscribe to being able to feel energy that is not actually explainable through having blood flow moving through the body. I've also spoken to in the past about neutralizing energy vortexes. So, and this is where we start to see the energy body interact with the physical, the emotional, the intellectual body. So if I've got a deep ingrained belief in my intellectual body, it might be that I'm not lovable, or I'm not worthy of love, something to that extent. That might be a largely unconscious belief in my system. If I do some levels of inquiries, or any healing or coaching modality that starts to pull the fabric of that belief away, quite often in the realization of how that belief was formed, maybe it was, more than likely it's when I'm between the ages of 0 and 7, an event that I interpreted when I'm very little and don't have full comprehension and adult understanding, is that, that gets stored in my system. I've got the belief from the intellectual perspective, unconsciously. However, there's also the emotions, the trapped energy, the trapped emotion that gathered at that time that particular belief was formed, okay, or maybe ongoing reinforcement. And so quite often when we start, in the coaching and healing space, working even at just the intellectual level, if I locate that belief and also then process the original feelings or the original trauma that caused me to form that belief in the first place, is that there is often, what happens is that we're neutralizing the energy vortex, as that will be stored somewhere in my system. Okay. Where we start to shift into the non-westernized understanding of the energy body, it's, you know, alternative medicine, alternative therapies, Chinese medicine, it well documents other alternative's not the right word, various non-Western cultured religions speak to the chakra system, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, the meridians, so the energetic lines that run through our body. The ability to see auras, so colours that represent the frequency at which someone's physical body is radiating from, and people who have those capabilities are able to work and heal particular areas across those, so auras, chakras and meridians. Well before I was even open to considering the energy body, I worked for quite a period of time with a acupuncturist, so Chinese medicine, acupuncture, where you're putting tiny little pins in across various areas of the meridians to change and redirect the energetic flows throughout the body. So, you know, it's interesting that I was open to that, even though I had no connection, comprehension or understanding about the energy body. I was still willing to go and try out this this modality for healing benefits. So I mentioned the intuition side of things, like how often would you have thought of a particular person, or as the phone's ringing you actually have the ability to tap into who it is that's actually contacting you. Quite often it's someone that you haven't heard from for quite some time. So there's all these coincidences or synchronicities that again, we don't necessarily have comprehension or understanding what's going on, but it's this belief in the things that we don't necessarily see or can have a direct interaction or experience with through our 5 primary senses. So as that's why I do refer to it as the magic, because it appears as magic. So there are a myriad of modalities and ways that we can start to interact and play and become knowledgeable or aware about what's going on in our energy system. One that I have invested a lot of time and money in for myself is kinesiology. Okay, so the ability to question and tap into answers coming from the energy body. So one self-testing option is through linking of the fingers and saying what is a yes, where it holds and the energy is maintaining that link, or a no, where it weakens and the link breaks. Okay, it's very easy to intellectualize that I'm doing that, okay, but through my own experiences and working with highly trained specialists in kinesiology, it starts to become very difficult to intellectualize it and just go, well, it's just my body doing it. I like working with practitioners in this space as opposed to myself doing it, so that I'm removing my own personal bias out of the equation as well. Spiral is a variation of kinesiology that I've also played with. EFT, emotional freedom technique, which is tapping on various meridian points on the body while saying various statements, and what that's doing is redirecting the energy patterns. Again, it can help decrease the hold of what a personal belief that we might have. So even though I don't love myself fully, I deeply appreciate and love and accept myself. So that's a little example of what an EFT process can look like. Yeah, I got exposed to that. It would have been about like 2004, 2005, so a long time ago. And again, it was well before I had any comprehension of the energy body, let alone believed in its existence. But I was very grateful for that exposure. It was during a time when I needed some help and support, and it came through a guy that I was working with that knew EFT, and it was phenomenal. And yeah, I've got quite a warm memory around my mind being blown about what was possible in terms of health and healing. Reiki is very much, a widely accepted energy body modality. Yeah, again, I think once this model is sort of more fleshed out, I'll be sort of interviewing people that do have that greater awareness and trained knowledge around these systems. So Reiki, working with pendulums, quite often, we talk about saging or lighting a candle, doing things to clear the energy. Again, it can be a person, it can be a place, or it can be an object. When we moved into our house here, the very first thing before we even moved anything into the house is I did a full sage smudge of the old energy of the house, and it felt different. Okay, it felt a lot cleaner and newer as a result. So, saging crystals, Palo Santo, a big bit of Palo Santo that I used to smudge myself. So I guess to give again just a bit more evidence. So my own personal experiences with the energy body has, a lot of these only sort of started, as I said, I actually gained some level of awareness and acceptance that the energy body actually exists. And so that's really been over the last 8 years. And I've had quite a wide variety now of the unexplainable that I would, now directly attribute and link to the energy body, having had those experiences. So the first and the most potent, I guess, it's called a Kundalini awakening, where a large force of energy from the base of the spine shoots up through the spine and into the brain and the pineal gland. I'd love to say I did, like I had a part in that actually happening, but I didn't. It was largely, it was a spontaneous thing that has occurred in my body. I've had it twice in the last 8 years. And it as much, as it was quite shocking and full on, it was amazing, because again, it just sort of, I was like, wow, okay, what is this? What is this experience that that has happened to me? And then going out and researching and learning and starting to understand that, this is actually not an abnormal thing to have occurred, even though that's exactly what it felt like. And of course, it's not something that you sort of start surveying other people and go, so have you had this Kundalini energy run up your spine? But that has been my experience. A lot of programs that I've done have worked with the chakra system. And what I have, my personal and direct experiences with the chakras is in various times and locations, is that different chakras of my system, I have actually felt the energy buzzing or energy releasing. Or they'll say that it's the chakras opening, that process. So this one here, your third eye, has been a predominant one, the heart chakra, and also the root, and the sacral one. So again, like it's difficult to speak to this because it's like it sounds like you're crazy. However, this is a very real experience that I have had. So it's, if I don't speak to it, well then I'm not being honest with my experiences with the energy body. So I feel that it has to come into this at some point. I have had experiences of actually physically feeling energy leave my body through various points, not necessarily tied in with the chakra system. So again, like if I at that point hadn't been open to or aware of the energy system, I probably just would have said it was a muscle twitching, or try to logically explain the sensations that I was having. Fortunately, my awareness at the time, when these things have occurred, it's like, oh, that's something leaving my body, and not having a conscious awareness of what it is, but just acknowledging that something has clearly shifted, or maybe the healing that I did the week before, and now it's integrating and finalizing off, and whatever energy vortex or dense energy was linked to that was stored in my system, I can now have a physical experience and feel that leaving my body. Like it goes as far as actually have the feeling of energy running through my system, when someone very close to me passed over, and I happened to be within a few meters of that occurring, and it was extremely bizarre, but it, again, like there's just, I could try to doubt it, but it's like it happened. So someone near and dear to me passed, who was in close vicinity to me at the time of their passing, and I felt, whether it's their soul, their energy, spirit, whatever, leave, and I felt it move through me as they were departing. So again, pretty intense thing to be speaking about, but these are some of my experiences that have led me to not be able to discount the energy body. As someone who, we also bring awareness to our energy when we start to actually have an understanding of our energy body. So the energy that it gets radiates from the physical body, but understanding that even our thoughts affects what our energy is doing. So if I'm thinking about someone, okay, energetically, that there is a link, a connection being formed between me and them, are those thoughts of a positive nature or a negative nature will also impact what that style of energy hooks that are being created by our thoughts. So something that is very, very useful, or I have found, is calling all my energy back in and creating time to bring everything back in and recenter and ground. For someone like myself, and I have various theories on this that are outside of the scope of this particular live, is actually being able to call the energy back in, because quite often what we're doing is energetically is we're out sourcing what areas are safe and what's not, what people, places and things are safe and not safe. So for some of us it's actually quite difficult to discern when we're feeling ourselves versus when we're feeling other. So have the conscious awareness to pull our energy back at any time, and that also then is supportive of, you not being the energy vampire or the one with the leaky energy that's sort of out there. They're doing the things. So that is, something to consider, particularly if this is a new concept. It's like, well, what is my energy doing, and tapping into it. What is my energy doing right now? There's some modalities that I've spoken to. There's various things that you can go off and Google and research, but just finding quiet space and time to actually feel into your own energy, and how far is it emanating outside of my physical body. You can start to play with imagining your aura, your field expanding, or pulling in energy from the environment, feeding it back in to fuel our energy body in ourselves. Alright, so that's probably more than enough. So of, I guess, all the 5 bodies, because this one is such a difficult one to quantify, really. Often I find, and we'll discover this for in later lives when I start the inquiry process through these 5 bodies, is that it's very often the energy body that holds the most unconscious of information, because it's the one that we're largely most disconnected from or not aware of. So when we start to inquire about certain things through our energy system, it can quite often reveal the most valuable of information and insights to support our own our existence, self-mastery in this lifetime, I think I said at the beginning. So I look forward to sharing you that level of inquiry in the next few weeks. For those that are listening, either in the live or the replay, please, if you have your own personal experiences with the energy body, no matter how cray they may sound, you don't have to share them in the chat. By all means, if you could private message me, just for my own self, like I'm not the only one going crazy. The nice thing is I have a lot of friends and connections with people that are open and aware to this level, so it's been useful cultivating those relationships to support me in my own coaching and healing journey. So alright, it's been a longer one. I'm sure as time goes on I'll become a lot more succinct with delivering this one, but when you're speaking to something for the first time, it's always going to be the worst version of it, hey? So at least we've started. So thank you for listening, even though it's a longer one. Yours enjoy and out, and till next time.